Welcome to Necessary Roughness. I'm your host for Fantasy Alarm, Ray Flowers. Week 14 busts, guys you do not want in your lineup. Let's go through one of each of the major positions in the fantasy game. We're going to start out with number one. It's a number of viable targets that Matt Ryan has to throw the football to if you remove the backfield situation from the mix. You know, Tammy's kind of there, White's there, Hankerson, it's all Julio Jones. And this week against Carolina, Julio Jones is going to have Josh Norman draped all over him, and that's a very difficult matchup for Julio Jones. You have to still think that he has a successful day. He'll get a high volume of targets. Ryan will not stop throwing him the football. But the fact is, this offense may have a very difficult time up against that Panthers defense. The last 3 games, Matt Ryan, who at the very least was giving you yards most of the season, is only averaging 260 yards pass per game. He's been picked off 6 times in 3 games. Just not a lot to see there with Matt Ryan. He's really regressing. He's someone to be very cautious with playing in Week 14. Second number is 0. It's the number of Saints running backs I trust. 0. Now that Mark Ingram is down and done for the season, headed to the IR with that shoulder issue that's going to require surgery, it's basically Hightower and Spiller in the backfield. And if you want to play one of those guys in the DFS game, okay, I get it. Full point PPR, you can go Spiller, half point, 0. Maybe you go Hightower thinking he'll get the goal line work. But if we're talking about a season-long setup, we're talking about first week of the fantasy playoffs here in Week 14. If you're playing Hightower or Spiller, you're either desperate, you must have lost Ingram, and that's all you have left, or crazy. It's one of the other. I don't know how anyone could possibly trust Spiller, who hasn't done anything in 2 years now. The team hasn't even found a way to get him involved in Houston. Hightower's a moderate talent. He's just kind of a guy. Who knows what's going to go on there. If you're playing either one of those guys against a Bucs team that's allowed less than 95 yards a game on the ground, that's only allowed 5 rushing touchdowns all season, you're doing something that I simply can't support. Next number is 83.3. That's the percentage of the last 6 games in which Allen Hurns has failed to get to 65 yards. 5 of the last 6 games, he hasn't got to 65 yards. The last 2 games, he's been at about 31 yards a game. It's not good, folks. It's really not. Last 2 games, he hasn't scored a touchdown. Now, Allen Hurns is really touchdown dependent at this point. His body's not at 100%, though he's playing through it. Despite all the success Bortles and that offense is having with the Jaguars, Hurns has really been a little hit or miss. Not a high volume of receptions, not a high volume of targets. We just discussed the lack of yardage. If he's not getting in the end zone, he's a very rough play. And as I noted, last 2 weeks he has done that. Be careful with Allen Hurns. And then finally, the number 146. It's the number of yards by Richard Rodgers last week of the Packers. That's great. You play him this week, right? That's the first game this season Rodgers had 50 yards, folks. He had 146 yards in Week 13. The 5 games before that, he had 146 yards. The matchup this week is a bad one. 3 touchdowns allowed by that Cowboys defense to the tight end position. They allowed the 7th fewest points a game to the tight end position. Don't be seduced by the 146 from last week with Rodgers. You don't chase points in the fantasy game. If you do, you lose, and that will probably be the scenario that plays out with the tight end of the Packers. FantasyAlarm.com. Go there. Week 14 rankings are available. They're free. Make it happen, folks, in the first week of the fantasy playoffs. I'm Ray Flowers. You've been watching Unnecessary Roughness.